And it's thinking. Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. Welcome back to the TED Show. This is my series. I renamed it, but we're going to play with this name. It was Coffee and Conversations, but it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. If you haven't had your coffee, I feel bad for you. I've had two giant ones, but this is basically me and my dear friend Walt Key, Mr. Hawaiian Vibin, having a conversation every week about, I don't know, what's on our mind, either what's happening in the real estate world or news or technology or you name it. We're going to have a little conversation about it. And so that is what we're doing today live. What's up, Walt? How you doing?
I am doing fantastic. I'm exhausted from all the travel, but that's just part of being a dad.
You have been a driving crazy man.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Lots of driving. And Walt and I were talking before we went live that this weather is enough to make anybody want to nap.
This is nap weather for sure.
Wild. All right. So just in case somebody's tuning in for the first time and they don't know who you are, what's the information on Walt Key?
Oh, just a schmuck in a Hawaiian shirt who likes to help people. That is it. Nothing else. Nothing else about it. What can you say about Walt Key? It's about the top producing agent. I hate that term. It's so overplayed, but statistically, I'm top 5% of the market. So I guess that's something. So I still sling deals. I'm more of a coach these days, published author. I run a challenge for agents and loan officers trying to help them make money. I do that based on my experience. I'm not a philosopher. I just teach people what works. And then we do these calls, which is one of my favorite parts of the week. Just jump on here, nice and casual, no structure. Just let's talk about what people want to talk about.
Talk about stuff. I love that you said you're a published author and didn't tell me you were a New York Times best-selling list that you paid to have on there. That's a pet peeve show I could have all day long.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about stuff. You want to talk about the cars first? What do you want to talk about?
So I don't know if we want to talk about the Fed or we want to talk about flying cars. So great. If you're not nerds like us, this is probably going to bore you a little bit, but I thought it was super cool. So a company just recently said they are about to mass produce flying cars, right? There's other concepts out there. There's been flying cars like one-off that somebody made and like, ooh, look at me, it's a flying car. But mass-produced flying cars have not been a thing yet. So this is interesting. So they say it'll convert from a car to an aircraft in 2 minutes. So you can literally drive it to somewhere where there's a landing strip. Boom, wings are out, you're gone. That's cool. 155 miles an hour, 621-mile range, which is pretty decent. I mean, that'll get you some places, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, this is a really interesting, it's about time. Like, I feel like this was the last aspect of the Jetsons, right? We've got the robots now. We've got the vacuums. We've got Zooms. We've got all of the virtual stuff that the Jetsons made famous when we used to watch it as a kid, but no flying cars.
No flying cars.
And so I was really interested. I'm reading the article, all the stuff. I'm like, this is freaking cool. And then I get towards the end of the article and it says, they are expecting the price to be somewhere between $800,000 and $1 million. And I'm like, who the hell's going to fly that? Come on. I was so excited. I'm like, listen, I'm a cheapskate. Like, I don't pay for things I can get for free, and I don't pay for things that I can get cheaper. I would have spent a fair bit of money on a flying car. I'll be honest with you. It's a plane and a car. Like, okay. No. But no, I'm not dropping $1 million on a flying car. Sorry. I'll wait for the mass production scaled down 600,000, maybe. I don't know. Not going to do it. But super interesting idea. And then I was sharing that on my social, sparked some interesting conversations. Some people were talking about things like, oh, great. Now all the idiots that can't drive on the highway are going to be idiots driving in the air.
Really my first thought, to be honest.
And initially I'm like, well, at least there's more air. You can swerve easier and not get into an accident, right? Roadways are tiny. But great point, though, that they were making is what happens when people start crashing their flying car? What happens when somebody runs out of gas in the flying car?
Yeah. I mean, we already have challenges with the FAA and drones. The big old car.
So I love the idea. I'm not sure that we're ready. As a society, I'm not sure we're ready. We're not responsible enough.
We can't even get those poor people in Newark can't seem to get their radars working.
Oh my gosh. I'm literally, I'm flying through Newark tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Headed to Toronto to help launch Epic Realty in Canada. I will be in Canada for a few days. I leave tomorrow and I fly into Newark, and then from Newark I'm on to Canada. So I'm like, please just let the radars work today.
That is so scary. And you know what? What scares me the most about it is it's a big news story, but the government or nobody seems to be really getting involved in the answers to it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's just antiquated equipment.
Totally.
That should have been retrofitted years ago. You would think something as important as, the radars that track all of the hundreds of thousands of flights a day.
Minor.
Maybe there should be a backup system in case one radar goes down, you jump into the second radar. Come on, Newark, hold it together for me for one day, please. I'm trying to get to Canada. I ain't got time for delays.
Canada. Talk a little bit about the launch. We don't talk much about. I mean, you talk a little bit about Epic, but that's a big.
So we're super excited about that. So when we founded the company, I say we. I'm not a founder. I'm just an agent who loves their company. They knew that they were going to be international. They knew they were going to scale it and keep going. And we want to change the entire real estate industry. It's not about one brokerage doing something for agents. It's about affecting an entire industry by being the brokerage that everyone looks at to go, oh, we have to change for the better to keep up with this. And that's the goal. And so we're open in almost all 50 states. We'll be in the rest of the few states we're not open in very soon. Going to Toronto to open in Canada. We're officially launching in Canada. We'll start in Toronto. We'll roll it out from there. Several other countries that are on, we have agents already on a waiting list to open in those countries. So super fun and exciting. I love what we do as a brokerage family. To be able to roll that out to other people is fantastic. So I'm just going out there to help, spread the word. And I have some agents in Canada already that were with me at a different brokerage, good friends of mine in Canada. So we're going to meet up with some of those, have some dinners, do some fun things. But Canada is the first stop on a series of other countries that we will open.
I'm glad you're flying and not driving.
Yeah, I'm done driving for now. 24 hours of driving inside of 4 days. I'm done.
No. But yes, I do pray you get through safely at Newark. All right. So you mentioned the Fed earlier. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So no, I don't think it's a big surprise. I think most people realized they were going to leave the interest rates the same. Here's the fun point. Like, this is what I'll say is we are now just one meeting away from the rates changing. I said, I think last week, it dropped the comments and I already had my opinion. I was 98% sure we were not going to change the rates at this meeting, and we didn't. I am 88% sure we will start to see rates change in June. I think we're going to start. Because the data that the Fed has been waiting on, I think we're starting to get to that precipice where they have enough data to feel comfortable with the decision. So if you're not a nerd, I'll try to break this down in common sense for anyone that's listening and they're like, I don't even follow the Fed. There's two different things that the Fed is trying to do at the same time, right? They're trying to maintain employment, a maximum employment, the best they can, and they're also trying to keep inflation in check.
Right.
And those two things usually work together. If you're getting inflation in order, then unemployment is good. They usually work together. But right now, unemployment's good, which you would argue, okay, unemployment's good, CPI data is good, let's lower the rates. But on the flip side of that coin, we have a lot of uncertainty. We have the tariffs that we have not quite seen the full effect of, and that could raise inflation. So the Fed is looking at jobs numbers are good, CPI data is good. We could lower rates based on that data that we have, but the data we don't yet have, inflation could go up. And the last thing we want to do is lower rates and then have inflation spike.
Correct.
So they've been kind of waiting, and they've really wanted to see where the tariff data moves before they make a firm decision. And I think by June, I think it's June 18th, if I'm not mistaken, middle of June, when they have their next FOMC meeting, I think there'll be enough data out there for them to go, you know what? Let's bump this a quarter point, half a point. I think we're going to start seeing some rates move in June. Let's just walk.
And do you think what's your thought process or your experience on the time frame of when that trickles? Because the last time they did something, rates went up.
Yeah.
Remember?
So great point. So the other thing that's worth noting is we're talking about the Fed because the Fed affects your money in many ways. Savings rates, loan rates, stocks and bonds. There's a lot of things that the Fed moves change. It's not fair to say that the Fed directly moves mortgage rates because the mortgage rates actually move more on the 10-year treasury yield than they do the Fed. But bond market investors are very in tune to what the Fed is doing. They're watching the same data points. They're looking at the same metrics. They're waiting to hear what the Fed chair says in order to decide where should bond market rates go. And then the bond investors make their decisions and such. So here's what happened last time. From, I think, September of last year to December of last year, the Fed actually dropped the rates almost a full percentage point. And the rates went up.
It went up.
Because the bond market uncertainty caused the 10-year treasury yield to move in the wrong direction, and therefore the mortgage interest rates followed suit because they track that 10-year yield. So I do think in this case, knock on wood, and I'll rub my crystal ball, I think we will see, after the Fed cuts their rates in June, we will start to see rates come down a little bit more because I think the bond market now, the investors are starting to see a little bit longer term of where the tariffs are going, where's the overall market going. And I think they're going to get a little more comfortable with the economic environment we're sitting in. And so if you were to think about that surely from this perspective of what happened with the funds rate, which again, not directly correlated, but closely tied, we should have a 3/4 point drop anyway from where we're at now. Correct. Once the bond market flushes out. As the Fed starts to cut incrementally, I think the bond market will see some effect of that. Bond market investors will make the right moves in their investments, and then we'll start to see that yield come down. So just Walt Key's opinion, but I do believe that between now and the end of this year, we will see rates starting to come down.
Because we've talked about this probably on every show since we started. There's so much on the fence on sellers and buyers side, especially on the buyer side. And every time you think something positive's happening, you don't see that they haven't taken the leap yet. And it's here, it's getting closer and closer. But I have realtors come to me all the time about helping with their listings and promoting, and it's really that the buyers haven't just gotten off the fence. Yeah. Whatever they're waiting for, it hasn't hit whatever that magic number is. Or
so if you want to be the guy or gal who looks at this for yourself, you can actually go back just a few months. I guess a little bit more than a few months now because we're already in May. Time flies when you're having fun. We actually saw a spike in refis and a spike in new mortgage applications when the interest rate came down to about 6.5%. We have that metric from just several months ago now. When we hit about 6.5, psychologically the buyers went, "This feels right. Let's go." The problem is it went right back up. It didn't stay there. So we know surely from a psychological historical standpoint, about 6.5 is where we need to get back to for buyers to start feeling comfortable enough to grab a mortgage and go buy a house. We are seeing more inventory hit the market, which is great. Yes. We've had we've had an inventory shortage for years. We are starting to see more inventory hit the market, but without buyers to buy the inventory, we are going to find ourselves in a position where prices start to get reduced, sellers start to get aggravated, and we're going to have some stagnation because the sellers aren't going to want to necessarily lower their price because when they put it on the market, it felt like the right price. But if the buyers aren't buying, what can we change about a house? You got price, you got location, you got condition. You ain't changing the location.
Nope.
Condition is what it is unless you're going to take it off the market and revamp it.
Correct.
Price is what you're going to change. So, but I do think very soon, maybe within the next few months, we'll be back in that mid-6 range. We'll start to see more pre-quals, start to see some refis as well, but we'll start to see more buyer activity. And we'll start to see some closings happen that have been a little slower to happen right now. So, and I'll caveat that by saying, by no means is the market slow.
No,
there's business to be done if you go out there and have conversations with people. But as a general national trend, right, we need some more buyers out on the market. We're going to see that at about 6.5%.
So as we wrap up, I didn't tell you this. I was going to ask you this beforehand because it just dawned on me. You do so much coaching, and I've sat in on so much of what you do, and it's brilliant as far as I'm concerned, because it's just common sense stuff, but you give people the application to do it.
Yeah.
What's your number one tip right now? What would you say if you're a realtor who's feeling, or even a lender, a loan officer who's feeling stagnant, nothing's moving? You've tried what you tried in the past. Maybe you're not doing it right. What are you recommending? Because I know you're doing a whole class on this. You're doing a whole workshop. You're in the middle of it right now.
Yeah.
So if somebody's out there struggling, what would be the first thing you tell them to do?
So the very first thing I would tell them is psychologically get out of the habit of saying never, no one, always, everybody. Those absolutes are always wrong, and they feed this negative loop in your head. Nobody's buying. Everybody's waiting. Get that out of your head, because that's just not the case. And it will keep you from taking the action that you should be taking because you feel like there's no point to take the action. So get rid of that doom and gloom mentality. Go have conversations with people. I will tell you that there are always sellers looking to sell their house. There are always buyers looking to buy a house. You, whether you're a lender or the realtor, are the middleman that brings those connections together. Go do that. One of the things I teach people to do, I'll give you guys one of the 5 strategies that we teach is for loan officers and realtors. Both can do this equally well. And loan officers, when I tell them to do this, they're like, I've never done that. I'm like, of course you haven't. That's what I'm here for. I'm trying to help you. Go call for sell by owners. You don't have to convince them that they should list with an agent. If you're an agent, shut up. They don't want to list. If you're a lender, great. You don't even have to have the conversation. But what does that FSBO need? They need a buyer.
Yes, they do.
Offer to market their property to generate a buyer that you can bring to the table, and you will close deals. Sometimes you'll list the house if you're an agent. It happens. I list a lot of them. Sometimes you'll bring a buyer. You'll close a great deal. Sometimes you'll generate buyers, and that FSBO's house isn't the best house after all. Great. You just got a new qualified buyer. Go find them another house. Go call a different FSBO. You create a perpetual cycle of business when you just add value to people. So what I tell them to do, reach out to the FSBO, offer value, offer to market the property to find the right buyer, and then go market their property on your social, on Facebook Marketplace, in your local Facebook community groups. Go find the buyer for that seller. You will close business. It sounds so simple, but it's 100% effective.
Good. Y'all are going to want to replay that a bunch of times. All right, my friend, what's the best way they can find out more about you and all of the amazing things that you do?
Oh, man. Google Walt Key Realtor or go to Linktree/Walt Key. You'll find me. All my data, my coaching calls, all the infos, all the stuffs are there, all the socials. It's all there.
It's awesome. All right, my friend. Awesome. Today, we always talk about great stuff, and you're a wealth of knowledge, and I appreciate you. Wealth of good knowledge, great knowledge. You all should really get out. Look at Walt's Linktree and follow him, and sign up for these workshops when they come along, or the webinars, or the actual groups that he does. There's so much great information packed into every session that you do with him, and I say that from experience and being blessed enough to be on many of them. All right, my friend, have a safe trip. Go open Canada for Epic. I love it. Go help open that. And I appreciate you. We'll see you back soon. If you all have questions, want us to talk about something, message me, message Walt, put it in the comments below. We'd love to talk about whatever's on your mind too. God knows we both have an opinion on it. And we both have some sort of education on it. And we will see you soon.
Take it easy, everybody.
All right, guys. Have a great one. We'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.